Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our patent strategy webinar series. Today, we are going to look at Pfizer. We want to study how Pfizer has successfully capitalized on its patent rights to protect its profit and also sustain its competitive advantages. My name is Lo. I'm a qualified lawyer for both Singapore and Malaysia in practice for more than 20 years. Apart from the IP registration work, I'm also heavily involved in the IP monetization work for Southeast Asia. And today I'm joined by two learned colleagues, Dr. Chua, who has a Doctor of Philosophy in Biotech, and Mr. Tai, who has a Master's in Analytical and Pharmaceutical Chemistry. Both of them are patent engineers within Pintas IP Group. So I would like to start by introducing to you Pfizer. Pfizer is the world's largest company, both in terms of sales and also in terms of R&D spending. If you have invested $1 in Pfizer in the beginning of 1979 and you hold it to 2022, your $1 would have been turned into $166, 166 times increase. So this explains how successful Pfizer has been for the past 30 years. So an overview of Pfizer. Pfizer was formed in US. It's a pharmaceutical company founded in US in 1849, headquarters in New York. It is a publicly listed company. In 2021, its market cap was $272 billion US. It is a well-known pharmaceutical company for the manufacturing and production for a wide variety of medicines and vaccine. Some of the products, the blockbusters drugs that we are going to cover today comprises of Comirnaty, the vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, LIPITOR, Viagra, PREVNAR, 13, CELEBREX, and LYRICA. So this graph depicts 10 top products of vaccine of Pfizer based on revenue. Comirnaty, the COVID-19 vaccine, generate $37 billion US in year 2022 alone. And the second best-selling drugs from Pfizer in 2022 was Paxlovid, which is an antiviral medicine to treat COVID-19 patients, and that drugs ranked in $18.9 billion US. And Pfizer has grown from a small company based in Brooklyn, New York in 1849 to become one of the world's biggest pharmaceutical biotech company. Pfizer has certainly come a long way from then. Today, Pfizer is famous for its COVID-19 vaccine, popularly known as Pfizer Biotech. And it is the first vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, to hit the market and has saved countless lives worldwide. We studied the success behind Pfizer, and we found that the sources of Pfizer competitive advantages can be boiled down to three factors. First, it has a lot of R&D. It has a strong R&D arm. It has come up with a lot of groundbreaking, cutting-edge technology that continue to feed its pipeline of blockbusters drugs and to make it into one of the leaders of the pharmaceutical industry. So this is factor one. Factor two is Pfizer also has an operational reach in more than 170 countries worldwide. Not only this operational presence give it access to new market and also to the R&D expertise. It has also built up connections with regulators in so many countries. You can quickly get regulatory approval for their new drugs, and they can enter the market very quickly. And that's one of the key reasons why Pfizer have attracted a lot of smaller drugs company to work with them and to grow to the world in the shortest possible time. One of the best example is the BioNTech, Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 patent. And the third one is partnership and collaborations. Pfizer has established partnership with a large number of companies, and also academic institutions worldwide to collaborate on many R&D projects. And the new drugs, some of the drugs, including the vaccine for COVID-19, including many of the blockbuster drugs, are a result of collaborations with third parties. So over the years, Pfizer has developed a massive R&D arm, a strong network of collaborations with partners, strong presence in 170 countries. These three factors combined together ensure that Pfizer can come up with the best drugs and go to the market in the shortest possible time and can conquer the world market successfully. And today we are going to look at 7 of these blockbuster drugs in detail through our case studies, and we want to see the origin of these drugs, how they fought protection for the drugs, and some numbers to support the success, that to see how successful these drugs are. And I would like to highlight that pharmaceutical industry is a very unique industry. It is very expensive, very laborious, very long to get new drugs from labs to the market. Studies show that it takes 12 to 15 years for a drug to travel, to go through all the various stages of laboratory testing, clinical testing, and finally the FDA approval before it reaches the market. The studies show that, to introduce a new drug, taking into account all the research failure and the rejections at the regulatory level, the cost of developing a new drug can amount to $500 million US. So to protect the return on investment on this high cost drugs development process, you need something to protect, and patent rights are very important tools for pharmaceutical companies to protect their return on investment. Okay, so for Pfizer, the patent is a very important economic moat, right? What is the meaning of economic moat? Economic moat was defined by Warren Buffett to be something that can protect sustainable competitive advantage for a company, right? And this different for a company to excel, it needs to surround its core competency with an economic moat. For pharmaceutical company, for Pfizer, definitely patents are the key economic moat for the companies. Okay, and before I go into the Pfizer, the case studies, I would like to generally talk about the fundamentals of IP. When I talk about IP, there are 5 types of IP rights that everyone should be aware of. One is patent, to protect the new invention; copyright, to protect the content, the creative content; trademarks, to protect the brand; design, to protect the outlook; and trade secret, to protect proprietary information, right? These are the 5 types of rights. And IPs are intangible assets, and it is valuable because when you register an IP, you have a monopoly to your ideas, your new idea, a monopolistic right to your idea. And this monopolistic right is given by the government of the land. So it is a right limited by jurisdiction. So you need a patent, your IP, to be in a particular country, then it has to be registered in that country. And the other key criteria of patent is it has a lifespan. It is limited by time. And it is especially important in the drug industry. Like just now, we saw that a drug takes 12 to 15 years to go from the lab to the market, and it costs you 500 million to develop new drugs. So you want to buy as much time as possible to monopolize the market. So patent basically lasts for 20 years, and the regulatory process will take some time. So for a lot of companies in the pharmaceutical industry, when a patent expires, you will see a situation which we call a patent cliff, where the revenue will drop a lot and a lot of generic manufacturer will come in. So the drugs company will try their best to extend the protection of their patent, right? So this is something crucial. And then for Pfizer, patent is actually a important engine for growth. Yeah, a lot of new molecule invented by patents are actually protected as patent, and also trademark, as you can see afterwards. Many of their drugs, especially the off-patent drugs, are protected by trademarks. and also copyright for their marketing content. Okay, so as I said just now, patent only give you a protection for 20 years, and to obtain a regulatory approval, it will take some years before a drugs can be will gain approval to enter the market. So many countries in the world has come up additional incentive regime for pharmaceutical companies. This extra incentive comes in the form of market exclusivity and data exclusivity. For example, in the case of Europe, right? In the case of Europe, a pharmaceutical company, they can apply to the European Regulatory Authority for a supplemental protection certificate where they can extend their market exclusivity for additional 5 years after the expiry of the patent. This is one way. And the other way where pharmaceutical company can delay the entries of competitor is to get the data exclusivity. Whatever data that they use to obtain regulatory approval will not be open to other competitor to use, unless 8 years have elapsed. So they enjoy data exclusivity up to 8 years in Europe. And different countries, they have different kind of incentive for pharmaceutical to compensate for the high cost of investment in coming up with the new drugs. So pharmaceutical company on their part, they also do things like they also do patent ticketing to protect their valuable invention, their important molecule. They usually don't file one patent, they file a portfolio of patents to surround their core technology. As you can see in the case of Pfizer, you can see in the case of LIPITOR just now, they filed afterwards, we are going to look at the case. They have a portfolio of patent, and also they use the patent ticketing process to extend their protection period. Like for example, in some of the patent that you can see, when they file a basic patent for the products, they also come up with other secondary patents to cover different aspects of the invention. Like for example, they can protect in the manufacturing process, they can protect the administration route of the drugs. They can also protect the antibody if it's a biologics. So these are the strategies utilized by the pharmaceutical company to protect their very important invention and to extend the patent protection period. Now, next, I would like to look at the trademark. Yeah, trademark is also an important asset by Pfizer. In 2022, it is ranked as one of the third most valuable pharma brand. It is worth $6.3 billion US. Okay, and apart from the corporate brand, Pfizer also have a portfolio of product brands, and these product brands also is very important. They are also very important for Pfizer, especially when their patent expire, when the patent cliffs happen, right? After 20 years, there's no more protection by patents, and it goes off the cliff. The generic manufacturer comes in. That's when the brand power will come over. At that juncture, the drugs will become, instead of a proprietary drugs, it will become a branded drugs, right? So this is what Pfizer has been doing, intensifying towards the end of the patent life. Pfizer will spend heavily promoting the brand, make it into a brand, and so that they can sell a bit higher compared to generic drugs. One good example is LIPITOR. LIPITOR is a very important anti-cholesterol drugs by Pfizer, and at the height, it racked in a sales of $13 billion US a year. So, but the patent expired in 2011. So after that, all the generic will come in. So what did Pfizer do? So 2 years before the expiry of the drugs, Pfizer spent more than $270 million in heavy advertising of the LIPITOR brand. So to create the customer stickiness and also to create brand royalty, so that consumer know there are many similar drugs in the market, but this drug is the more famous and more reputable and more reliable one. So this is how the brand powers can come in when patent expires. And patent portfolio, Pfizer has filed many patents over the years, as you can see, and it has a total of 113,000 patents globally, belonging to 27,000 patent families, and 44,000 are still active. And most of the Pfizer patents are filed in America, in the major advanced countries like Japan, Europe, Australia, Canada, right? And this is where Pfizer's make their most money, and they have to protect their commercial interests there. And what is patentable? Today we are talking about patents. So in order to file a patent, you have to have a product which is novel, a product which is inventive, meaning it has technical advantages over the previous prior art, and also it's something that can work, right? These are the three criteria. And there are categories of invention, but for Pfizer, most of their patents are in the composition of matter patent. You see a lot of composition patent, a lot of molecule patent, and also sometimes the process patent. This is where Pfizer filed the most patent. So the next slide is about the case study that we want to do. And we are going to look at 7 of the key patents for Pfizer. And you can download the handbook and to read more about them if you like. And I'll leave this for a while so that you can scan, or if not, later on we can send you the QR code for you to download. So the first patent that we want to talk about is the famous Pfizer Biotan COVID-19 patent, right? So this COVID-19 patent actually originates from University of Pennsylvania by 2 professors. They were the pioneer of mRNA technology, which underpins the COVID-19 vaccine. So both Professor Catherine and Professor Drew Weissman from University of Pennsylvania, they filed a portfolio of patents on mRNA. So what is mRNA? I'm a lawyer by training, but I'll try to explain this to you in layman terms. It is a molecule that carry instruction for our cell DNA to produce protein, right? So our cell DNA will produce protein based on the coding on the mRNA. And the scientists realized that we can add synthetic man-made mRNA into the cell, and we can trigger our cell to produce protein on demand. So meaning if I want myself to cure my own disease, right, in my body, I can create an mRNA that encode that particular protein into the cell, and the cell can generate generate that kind of medicine to cure the disease. And this was the finding of the 2 scientists from University of Pennsylvania, but there was a problem, right? The problem is if you inject mRNA to the body, they have an inflammatory reaction. So the 2 professors developed a way to modify the mRNA for safe use by replacing certain nucleotide in the mRNA with pseudonucleotide, and by doing that, there will be no immunogenicity. There will be no inflammation. So this is what the invention is about. So the 2 professors filed this patent, and this is basically what this mRNA, basic mRNA technology is about. It's in one sentence. It is a method patent where you can introduce into a mammalian cell to produce a protein of interest, where you create a modified mRNA encoding a protein of interest, and those modified mRNA are comprised of a modified nucleoside pseudouracil. This is what this patent is about. Yeah, it's a short claim, but it means a lot, right? When it comes to owning the technology. So so this method of generating protein of interest has the effect of reducing the immunogenicity. It doesn't cause inflammation by replacing a certain nucleotide with pseudonucleotide or pseudouridine, right? And by doing that, the body will not have inflammation, and this type of mRNA can be injected into the body, and that is the basic of the University of Pennsylvania patent. And University of Pennsylvania licensed the patent to many companies, including Moderna in 2017 and Biotech in July 2017. This was the first commercialization of the mRNA technology from University of Pennsylvania. And University of Pennsylvania makes more than $1 billion since the start of 2021 from these basic patents owned by them. But mRNA alone is not enough. You have to find a way to deliver the fragile mRNA into human body. So how do you do it? So the licensee of the patent, including BioNTech, they start to come up with a technology, lipid nanoparticle technology to wrap the mRNA using nanoparticle and deliver that to human body. And this is the contribution of BioNTech. So BioNTech licensed a technology, developed the delivery system, and also on top of that, they also produce new candidate. They can encode different types of protein, right, to cure oncology, cancer disease, infectious disease, rare diseases. So a host of horizon open up, right, a new way to cure diseases. So BioNTech filed many patents for this technology. The patents covered the mRNA structure to provide increased immunogenicity, also improve on the lipid nanoparticles technology, how you can wrap those mRNA, and also the manufacturing process of mRNA, how you purify, how you produce the mRNA, and also the mRNA products candidates for different kinds of diseases. And BioNTech entered into collaborations with Pfizer to develop immunotherapy vaccine, entered into collaborations with Bayer to do vaccines for animal, and with Bill and Melinda Foundations to do vaccines for HIV and tuberculosis. And when since 2018, Pfizer has been working with BioNTech to produce mRNA vaccine for influenza. But when this COVID-19 hits, right, Pfizer and BioNTech changed the direction to focus on COVID-19. So this BioNTech uses lipid nanoparticle to deliver mRNA, and it travels to the cell and instruct the cell to create SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, and then leading to the production of the body will trigger an immune response in our cell to produce antibodies, and antibodies will fight the COVID-19 virus. In essence, this is how it works. And you can see in this case that BioNTech owns all the patent. The Pfizer comes in as the marketing partner. They also do the manufacturing. They also do the regulatory approval process. So this is how, using its marketing power, bring the drugs in the shortest possible time to the market. They were the first company to obtain approval from FDA to start administering to human body. And just 1 year down from the outbreak of COVID, this vaccine is already in market. Yeah. So this is the patent filed by BioNTech in this is a BioNTech patent, and this is filed in 2013, and this is the claim of this BioNTech patent, right? It comprises of a core, a vesicular core, and inside vesicular core there is a therapeutically effective compound, an RNA formed on the hydrophilic cell, and RNA encode at least an antigen, and this antigen can elicit an immune response. This antigen can be a tumor antigen, a viral antigen, a bacterial antigen. So this patent actually forms the basis of the COVID-19 patent. And COVID-19 is during the COVID-19, Pfizer BioNTech is the most widely used patent because of its very extensive network worldwide. It is able to spread it out so fast, get the approval so fast. It's used in 61 countries. Yeah. And in year 2021, it racks in 37 billion US dollar for the Comirnaty patent. And if you look at the third graph, you can see that the profit of the company jumped 124% because they were the first to grasp the opportunity, move very fast, bring to the market, and in a way save the world, right? And at its peak in December, Pfizer stands at 331 billion US dollar. That's the success of the Comirnaty drugs. The second patent that I would like to talk about is the azithromycin patent. Azithromycin patent is actually characterized by the World Health Organization as one of the most critically important antibiotics for human, right? That's it has been administered, prescribed in 2019 alone, more than 15 million prescriptions. And again, you can look at these drugs. This molecule, azithromycin, was not invented by Pfizer. It was invented by a small pharmaceutical company from Croatia called PREVNAR. The patent was filed by PREVNAR in 1981. And PREVNAR is a small company. It cannot move to the world very fast, very quickly. So the patent would have a very limited application. But the scientists from Pfizer found the molecule and they see great potential, and they enter into a licensing agreement with PREVNAR. And Pfizer acquired the right to sell azithromycin to the rest of the world, and Central and Eastern Europe will still be PREVNAR territory. That was the arrangement. And this is the patent filed by PREVNAR, which was licensed to Pfizer. And if you look at the claim, it's a very simple claim. It's just a molecule. This is the claim. Yeah, this is the molecule for azithromycin. And if anyone were to do this molecule, it will be infringing the patent of PREVNAR. And in the same patent, they also claim the process of manufacturing this, right? And PREVNAR azithromycin was marketed under the name Sumamac by PREVNAR in Central and Eastern Europe, and in the rest of the world under the brand of Zithromax, and another product brands by Pfizer. And it was selling very well, and with a worldwide sale of more than $2 billion in 2005. And to extend the patent, actually, Pfizer also found improvement. They add water and they become azithromycin dihydride. And the azithromycin dihydride was filed in 1992 to extend the shelf life, the protection period for patent. Okay, so this is the second patent, and I would like to move to the third patent, which is the most counterfeited drugs on the internet, which is Viagra. Yeah, Viagra is the name, scientific name is sildenafil. The brand name is Viagra. Sildenafil was synthesized by Pfizer in-house engineer Simon Campbell. It was originally intended for hypertension and angina, but during the clinical trial, it was found that the drug has little effect on heart attack, on angina, but it can be used to induce inner erections, right? So the Pfizer see a lot of potential there, so they changed direction. So they applied to market it for erectile dysfunction, and rather than for heart attack. And the drug was patented in 1996, gained the FDA in 1998, and it was offered for sale. And Viagra was an instant hit, right? First year, made $400 million US. Second year, $1 billion US. Consistently, it is able to deliver more than $1.5 billion US sales, $1.8 billion sales, right? but the good time come to an end when the exclusivity expires. In different countries have different exclusivity period. Yeah, it's not only the patent period, but the market exclusivity period expires in different countries. And I would like to pass to my colleague, Sammy, to talk about this patent because it's getting too technical for my ability, and I would like someone who has a master in pharmaceutical chemistry to talk about this patent.
Yep. Hello. So what we have here is the key patent pertaining to a sildenafil, a chemical compound used for treating erectile dysfunction in men. And it's like Mr. Lott said earlier, it's marketed under the brand name Viagra. And if we look at here, the main claim of the Viagra patent depicts a chemical structure of a sildenafil. The chemical structure of sildenafil generally comprises a pyrazolopyrimidinone core featuring several functional groups represented by R1 to R4. As you can see here, there's a list of all these substituents that could be possibly substituted to basically make up this chemical compound. But anyhow, all these functional groups contribute to the overall structure and properties of the compound. For example, a piperazine group located at the R4 position would contribute to the compound's specificity for PDE5, an enzyme responsible for degrading CGMP, which is a signaling molecule involved in a smooth muscle relaxation. And another example would be a carbonyl group in the pyrazolopyrimidinone core that forms hydrogen bonds and other interactions at the active site of the PDE5 enzyme. So yes, so by inhibiting a PDE5 enzyme, sildenafil would increase the levels of CGMP in the smooth muscle cells of the corpus cavernosum, a tissue in the penis, and ultimately the accumulation of a CGMP would lead to the relaxation of the smooth muscles and increases the blood flow, thereby resulting in erection when combined with sexual stimulation.
Yeah, thank you, Sammy, for his very technical explanation. And you know why I need him to help me to explain the patent. It's so technical. The next slide shows that apart from patents to protect the chemical composition, Pfizer also filed industrial design to protect the shape of the famous little blue pill. Right, this blue is protected. The shape of the pill is protected as an industrial design and also a trademark. You can protect the shape as a trademark, yeah, if the shape is distinctive enough. So this is how they protect all the angle of Viagra. And there were attempts by generic companies, for example, Teva, to come in. You know, Pfizer filed original patent first in which expired in 2012, and they filed another use patent. As you know, in pharmaceutical, you can find a use for drugs. You can file a patent for use. And this use patent was filed in 2019, so it has two patents. So when the first patent was about to expire, Teva tried to come in with the generic drugs, and Pfizer came in with a legal suit saying that Teva is infringing my second patent, the use patent. And in counter, the Teva, the Israeli generic manufacturer, challenged the patent on the ground that, hey, look, Pfizer, you are double patenting the drugs. You have one patent in 2012, now you file another one ending in 2019. It's double patenting. But the court upheld the patent, both 2012 and 19 patent, and held that Teva has infringed the 2019 patent. So Pfizer and Teva went into a negotiation. They settled the case. Pfizer allowed Teva to come into the market in 2017, a bit earlier than the end of the exclusivity period, and Pfizer also get royalties for the use of this compound. So this is one example of how, you know, patent can be used to keep your competitors at bay. The next patent that I would like to talk about is LIPITOR patent. It's another famous patent from blockbuster drugs from Pfizer. It is used to reduce the LDL cholesterol level, and it is developed not again by Pfizer but by another company called PREVNAR, another pharmaceutical company, PREVNAR Lambert's Chemist. They have synthesized a compound called Atorvastatin, which is modeled on the naturally occurring compound known as statin, and it can reduce blood cholesterol. And then what happened was the Pfizer and PREVNAR Lambert entered into a co-marketing agreement, just like Bioten and Pfizer, right? They have a co-marketing agreement, and Pfizer were to sell LIPITOR. But eventually, in the year 2000, Pfizer acquired PREVNAR Lambert, and LIPITOR becomes a portfolio of Pfizer. And from 1996 to 2021, LIPITOR became one of the world best-selling medicine, racking in 125 billion in sales over the period of 14.5 years of patent life. And at its highest, 1 year, it makes 13 billion, right? So Pfizer expires on the LIPITOR expired in 2011, and you can see how the company Pfizer rely on the brand power to continue the market share, to perpetuate their market share. And this is what is feared most, right, by pharmaceutical company. When you have a drug doing so well, suddenly patent expire, everybody can come in, and the market share, the product will get, become lesser. So to explain to you the LIPITOR patent, I will invite my other colleague, Dr. Chua, to come take over and explain about the LIPITOR patent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Locke. So here we have the patent for LIPITOR, or Atorvastatin, which was filed back in 1991. So it's essentially a medication to lower cholesterol levels. As you can see here, the main thing is the chemical structure of the compound itself, which is a heptanoic acid and its lactone form. So the core structure is actually a heptanoic acid chain linked to a pyro ring. And in addition to that, there are functional groups attached to the core structure, namely hydroxyl group, a phenylcarbonyl group, and also a fluorophenyl group. So the combination of the core structure and also the functional groups gives a surprising effect in inhibiting the biosynthesis of cholesterol. So to understand how Atorvastatin helps in this situation, we first look at what happens in our liver cells. Firstly, there's the enzyme called HMG coenzyme A reductase, which essentially reduces the substrate HMG coenzyme A into mevalonic acid and subsequently into cholesterol. So Atorvastatin, or LIPITOR, comes in place by inhibiting the reductase enzyme so that the substrate cannot be converted into cholesterol, and therefore reducing the cholesterol levels in the liver cells. In addition to that, due to the lower cholesterol levels, there's also an upregulation of LDL receptors, which are low-density lipoproteins, which are then further absorbed from the bloodstream and into the liver cells, thereby further lowering the cholesterol levels.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chua. I hope you gain some sense from this explanation about how the LIPITOR works. A lot of chemical names there. Okay, so again, this was a highly popular drug. All the generic manufacturer were eyeing it, anxiously, and they want to enter the market as quickly as they can. And one such company is Ranbaxy from India. In 2004, they took up an action to cancel the 2 patents, and they manufactured generic LIPITOR and try to ignore the 2 patents. And Pfizer countersued Ranbaxy for the patent infringement. 2005, the US judge upheld the 2 patents and defeat the challenge, the invalidation challenge by the Indian drugs manufacturer. So both parties went into a negotiation, reached a consensus. So the agreement was Ranbaxy was allowed to launch the product, to delay the production until November 11 when the patent expires, and in return Ranbaxy can sell the drugs. They don't have to wait for the market exclusivity period to be over before they can sell the drugs. So this was again patent at its best, trying to block a competitors coming in to eat away the market profit. CELEBREX patent, the next patent I would like to introduce to you, is actually an anti-inflammatory drugs for treatment of osteoarthritis. And it's again not in-house developed by Pfizer. It was developed by CELI, which is another company. And the parent company of CELI, which is Monsanto, merged with Pharmacia. And when Pfizer acquired Pharmacia, CELEBREX becomes a patent in Pfizer's portfolio. And CELEBREX is also a very popular drug, selling more than $2 billion US per year consistently. And I need to get my colleague, Dr. Chua, again to talk about the CELEBREX patent.
Okay, so hello again. So for this patent for CELEBREX or Celecoxib, which was originally filed in 1993, relating to an anti-inflammatory drug. So what was claimed was actually the compound itself, which is a class of pyrazolil benzyne sulfonamide compound. So the core structure has two rings. First is the phenyl ring and also a pyrazole ring. So for these two rings, there are 4 positions, R1, R2, R3, and R4, which are substituted with functional groups that essentially gives the compound itself the potency and also the affinity to bind to an enzyme called cyclooxygenase 2, or simply put, COX-2, which is an important enzyme in the production of prostaglandin in the cartilage. Okay, so to understand how it works, so for an arthritis patient, what happens in the cartilage is that in the event of the increased upregulation of inflammatory mediators such as the interleukins and also the tumor necrosis factor, these two pathways are upregulated, namely the COX-2 pathway and also the INOS pathway, to increase not only prostaglandin but also nitric oxide. So the combination of these two molecules will lead to cartilage degradation. So what CELEBREX did is to, when it's taken, it inhibits both pathways and thereby slowing down the degradation of the cartilage.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chua. In the interest of time, probably I will cover the next 2 patents quickly so that I don't eat into your valuable time. The next patent that I would like to talk about is LYRICA patent, or also known as Pregabalin. Chemical name is Pregabalin patent. Pregabalin is a medication used to treat epilepsy, neuropathic pains, and other generalized anxiety disorder. It has to do with the nerve, right? The nervous system, nervous system. And this product, again, like the case of mRNA, originated from university. It's started from Northwestern University under Professor Silverman. Their researcher discover a certain synthetic chemical can increase the concentration of neurotransmitter, which is important for treatment of epilepsy. So Silverman's team used the discovery to synthesize a new molecule, which is eventually known as Pregabalin. And this technology was patented and was licensed to a pharmaceutical company called Parke-Davis. And when Pfizer bought Weiner Lambert 10 years later, which is the parent companies of Parke-Davis, they obtained the rights to Pregabalin. And Pfizer rebranded it as LYRICA and sold it to the market. And it was a popular drug because it's not only good for epileptics, it's also good for other neuropathic pain. And it was able to generate 5 billion in revenue for Pfizer alone in 2016. And University of Northwestern University, being the original patent owner, also received a royalty amounted to $1.4 billion. Right? If you look at the statistic, Northwestern collect the most royalties of the US universities, in the past 10 years, and it's basically because of LYRICA patent. And LYRICA patent was one of the top-selling drugs for Pfizer, accounted for 10% of the revenue. But when the market exclusivity expires in 2019, its contribution reduced to 6%. And that's when the brand power has to come in to save the day, but at a much lower market share. Last but not the least, I would like to look at this is the patent of LYRICA patent. Because of time constraint, I won't ask my technical team to speak about this patent anymore. Suffice to say that this patent filed by Northwestern University in 1995 priority protect this particular molecule, right? So this particular molecule is owned through this patent, and anyone wants to do this molecule has to pay royalty to Northwestern University and also to Pfizer. The last patent in my list today is PREVNAR 13 patent. PREVNAR 13 is a pneumococcal vaccine, right? It's a vaccine to prevent pneumococcal disease. This patent before the patent is still valid up to now, and it is racking in 5.8 billion in sales in 2018. And in terms of market share, it is more than 50%. There are many pneumococcal vaccine in the market by different brand, but PREVNAR 13 is the most popular, taking up more than 50% of the market share. And this pneumococcal vaccine can be used for infant, young children, and adults to guard against diseases caused by streptococcal pneumonia bacteria. Okay, and PREVNAR 13 is not an in-house developed invention. It was initially invented by Wyeth. Wyeth merged with Pfizer in 2009. The drugs become part of Pfizer portfolio. And this merger with Wyeth also enabled Pfizer to diversify into vaccine and biologic medicine, right? And this is the patent for the PREVNAR 13 conjugate vaccine. And this is the claim. And unfortunately, we don't have time to ask my technical team to talk about this very technical claim. But I think if you are interested, you can always call us. You can download this handbook, and my two learned engineers will be more than happy to tell you, how exciting this molecule can work.